What is up, Star Wars fans? Welcome to my Ahsoka Episode 3 breakdown, recap, and review. The episode is titled Time to Fly, and this episode was quite a decent one. It felt a little bit more like a bridge in terms of what's gonna come next episode, and if you've seen any of the trailers, it feels very obvious what kind of stuff we can expect in that location, in the forest. As for this episode, there was quite a few cool moments. There's definitely a few more questions that are now raised that I would love to discuss with you guys down in the comments below, particularly regarding Marrok. I spoke about that in my first 2 episodes review, and a few of you agreed with me. A few of you are like, nope, Marrok has to be Ezra Bridger. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, because I just really want to speak plainly and just try and figure out why people think that is the case. And I'm more than happy to be wrong if somehow that turns out to be the case. One thing I would greatly appreciate from you guys, if you're still watching now, or if you even go on to carry on watching this video and you enjoy it, please let me know by leaving a like on it. Consider subscribing for more Star Wars breakdowns like this. And right at the beginning of the episode, we have Sabine training with Huyang. And this was pretty interesting because obviously Sabine, she's practiced with regards to combat weaponry because she's, well, we've seen her in Star Wars Rebels. She's been a badass. She's a Mandalorian. But the thing is, she's pretty rusty. She never really got that far in the first place, especially before her and Ahsoka walked away from each other. And not only that, we have Huyang saying last episode and doubling down this episode that the Jedi, like, she's so bad with her aptitude for the Force, her connection to the Force, that she wouldn't have even been accepted into the Jedi Order, even if, like, she was like, yeah, I'll train from a youngling age, I'll do all the training, anything that is required of me, yeah, I'm down for it. Like, let's just say she was 4 years old and saying that, the parents were like, yeah, she can do this. They're like, nah, we don't want her. She doesn't even meet the criteria, man. But what I do like with what this episode gets into is that Ahsoka wants to bring that out of her regardless. You know, we had the beginning moments with the training where Ahsoka got involved with regards to feeling her presence with the visor on. She's getting a bit frustrated, pretty angry, and I love the quote of anger and frustration are quick to give power, but they also unbalance you, and that's very true. You can get a bit overconfident at times, and as we know, overconfidence can be a downfall. We've seen that before with certain characters in Star Wars. But already cutting to that scene a little bit later, they really do get into the George Lucas somewhat explanations of the Force here. And of course, this is Dave Filoni we're talking about, the student of George Lucas himself. So when we have Sabine talk about using the Force, or, you know, she can't really feel it, not like Ahsoka does, she says the Force resides in all living things. And this is when Sabine asks a question where I think a lot of people would, without so much of an understanding, in terms of, well, if that's true, why doesn't everyone quite literally use it in Star Wars? Why doesn't Han Solo use it when that would kind of be handy to somebody else, right? Why doesn't Jabba the Hutt use the Force? Ahsoka admits talent is a factor, but training and focus is what truly defines someone's success. So this is very true. As Obi-Wan famously said, the Force is what gives a Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together. So technically everyone has a connection to the Force. But just like how people are kind of born with somewhat of a natural talent for some things, you may feel this way about some people you know. But that doesn't mean that if you didn't really apply yourself, that you couldn't study, focus, and train yourself to be proficient in whatever it is. Same with a musical instrument. You may think your friend's amazing at it, but I guarantee if you applied yourself, you could train yourself to be very, very musically talented with that instrument as well. And it's a similar thing to the Force. Now, again, to emphasize, you do have some people with a much higher natural talent, a much higher natural IQ with it. So I guess if you want to go there, that means midichlorians. You know, Anakin had a much higher midichlorian count, but Sabine does have it within her. So what we're seeing right now is her kind of trip up and fall, quite literally in the episode. But when the time comes, you are going to get that kind of tropey moment, I suspect, where Sabine does just bust out like a Force push that might send Shin flying back when that would be the last thing that Shin Hati would expect, because she kind of views Sabine as having no power. But the next things we saw in the episode was the New Republic fleet. I was like, okay, wait, what's this? What's this opening shot here? This is a huge fleet, and yeah, of course, it's the New Republic fleet, and we have Chancellor Mon Mothma there, and I really loved this beginning interaction with Hera, because, you know, they were asking about Jacen Syndulla, which is Hera's son, obviously, and the son of Kanan, and I was like, oh, are we going to see him in the episode? And we did, just jumping to that very quickly. I loved seeing that. You know, I was talking about in my first episode and second episode review, I'm still enjoying these characters, but it's taken me a little bit more time than I think maybe most other people to get used to having new actors portray these characters and still see them the way that you saw them in Star Wars Rebels. But I didn't want to nullify the fact that I was still seeing the mannerisms there, and typically as this episode was unfolding, I'm getting more used to this Sabine as Sabine. I'm getting more used to Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera, especially when she was looking at her son Jacen, when he was like, I want to be a Jedi too, and he heard that Sabine was training to be a Jedi, and Hera was just like, I know you do. And the way she was looking at him, I just, maybe this is my own projection here, but she was just seeing Kanan in her son, and I am a sucker for things like that. But here, guys, with the New Republic, here we have the most incompetent, insufferable, typical, stupid, every word under the sun situation that happens, like with stuff like this. And I know that's a thing, but my point is, without rambling so much here, Hera obviously says that she believes this Imperial activity on Corellia, the shipyards, with regards to Morgan Elsbeth last episode, it speaks to a larger operation, one involving Thrawn. Now, the only person that strikes a chord with, and rightfully so, was Mon Mothma. What Hera wants is simply a task force of some respectable size to go to the Denab system and find out. And this is where that Senator Hamato Ziono from Star Wars Resistance, so we kind of have seen him before, and now here he is in live action. He just claps back, being like, General, to be honest here, like, if we're going to be honest, isn't this just another attempt to gain New Republic resources to aid in what's ultimately been your quest to find Ezra Bridger? There's just, you know, absolutely no entertaining this intel from General Hera Syndulla, and it's just kind of being seen as, oh, she just wants to follow any lead to find Ezra. Now, if I want to be as grounded as I can be, I do understand how these senators would maybe be doubtful and might not want to completely entertain everything, but there's a certain ignorance and overconfidence and just cockiness with this New Republic already that it just rubs me the wrong way. But I know that is the point. I think what's irritating to me is that there isn't any major threat out there right now. Sure, there is, you know, these little Imperial remnants. Now, to be fair, they're even putting down to, oh, they're not problems. Like, of course there's going to be some people, but they're, you know, they're just little flames that we can put out. So they're even acknowledging that they're not even big threats. So it's more to the question of, okay, why can't you dispatch a little task force to investigate what General Hera Syndulla wants to look into? It's not like you've got some invading force attacking your fleet right now, or some kind of Republic home world. No. So why not entertain this? But no, they're being patronizing, condescending. The only one who's listening is Mon Mothma, but she is not really winning them over, as we know. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Do you think this is like a good portrayal of the New Republic? I mean, I guess it is in a way. And to give them some credit, even though I hate doing that, they are very much so spread thin. You can only imagine the pressure that these leaders trying to organize this alongside people like Leia out there are, you know, as they said, an empire doesn't become a New Republic overnight. They may feel a bit like X'd out with some things, but I still would happily call them stupid and incompetent when it comes to entertaining possible threats out there. I try and put myself into their position, but it doesn't seem like it would be a great deal to follow somebody's advice of whom helped win the war, and that is General Hera Syndulla. One more thing as well, love how Hera absolutely clapped back, saying, were you in the war, Senator? So you just kind of sat back and waited to see who came out on top, right, okay, yeah, shut the f*** up, bitch. And so, with Sabine and Ahsoka and Hayang, this is where, again, they enter the Denab system, and Hera's communication about, okay, okay, we can't help you, cuts out because communications are cut off here, because obviously this is the pad, if you will, of where Morgan Elsbeth is hanging out with the giant ass Eye of Sion, which, as all of us thought, is this massive, giant hyperspace ring. But the thing is, they're being pursued by a squadron of fighters involving Shin, Hati, and Marrok. Now, this is where we get some of that fun, typical Star Wars action. Sabine jumps straight into the tail gun. They initially, you know, try and fight them off, but then when they start working together with Ahsoka's Jedi piloting abilities, which comes in very handy in situations like this to avoid basically getting blown up with those Jedi reflexes, we had Sabine manage to take quite a few of them out. But in order for Huyang to get a good scan on the Eye of Sion, they quite literally needed to approach it with the turbo lasers firing at them. Now, this was this was very lucky that we had Ahsoka piloting the ship, because again, with using the Force, you know, there's plenty of times in the past of Star Wars where it's been demonstrated that it does give you a very, very, very good edge in space combat. So yeah, they practically avoided blowing up, although they did get hit at the last second. But this is when we actually hear Marek'S voice. I think for the first time. I swear I'm not going crazy there. I feel like we didn't hear Marek'S voice in the first 2 episodes, but Shin tells him to form up on her wing and wait for her signal. And this is when we get a "as you wish," like a really deep voice modulated voice from Marrok there. Now, a lot of people think that this is Ezra Bridger. A lot of you agreed with me in how I think that doesn't make sense, but I did still have some of you say it must be. There's no other kind of choice here with who else it could be, especially when you take into account the star map. How did that star map? And this is one thing I will say. It is kind of very convenient that there is a star map in an ancient Night Sister temple from thousands of years ago that happens to lead exactly to Thrawn's location. So it is like, who left that there? Or if this is an old star map that happened to lead to this location of exactly where Thrawn is in this other galaxy, isn't it convenient that Thrawn happened to be at the exact location to where this star map is pointing within that other galaxy, if that makes sense? So I think what people are trying to connect there is that somebody must have come from that other galaxy, like Ezra Bridger, and left that star map there in a temple to lead it to the exact location or point towards the exact location in this other galaxy. That doesn't make any more sense. I get what people are saying with the star map thing, with how, oh, but somebody had to have left it there. I think that's maybe a plot contrivance for the Ahsoka show. But to say that Ezra came back from the other galaxy in where Thrawn and Ezra were exiled to, so he came back, he's now working for the bad guys, but instead of just telling them where the galaxy is and where Thrawn is located, instead he did this whole unnecessary thing as to create a star map, to leave it in a temple, to point to where it is and be like, hey guys, I'm not going to tell you this, but I've actually made this, or maybe I will tell Morgan this is why she was after it in the first place, but Ahsoka got there first. I've drawn a, or haven't drawn it, I've created a little star map that points to where I was with Thrawn. Like, do you see how strange that theory is? Now, what I do like is the whole Sam Witwer theory, and how, and I'm not saying this is going to be Starkiller brought to live action in the way he is in The Force Unleashed, because that would never be done, because the power abilities within those games just aren't translated to Star Wars in the same way. And as Sam Witwer said himself, if Starkiller Galen Marek was to be brought over to live action, it might be done in a certain other iteration. And there's been a video floating around recently where Dave Filoni was considering bringing Galen Marek, Starkiller, to live action as an Inquisitor, and it's an idea that never happened. But who else is kind of an Inquisitor, looking Inquisitor at least, in Ahsoka, with his face covered? This Marrok guy. Now, it's not Galen Marek, but it's Marrok, so it could be following the whole thing of, well, Filoni might bring Starkiller into live action, but in a new iteration. Of course, to a lot of fans out there, that would never do justice to actually The Force Unleashed Starkiller, but I think fans would still be like super hyped to see that mask come up and it actually to be Sam Witwer in some way, shape, or form. That would be really cool. But anyway, back on track. As they were approaching the Eye of Sion, the scan completed, but the ship almost almost exploded, but it just got knocked out, and, you know, they were dead in space. Now, this was very dodgy because we had Shin Hati still have eyes on them, and she was like, right, I'm going to fly in and finish them off, which is where we got like a really badass Ahsoka Tano Clone Wars feeling moment, and where she went outside, she was doing freaking cartwheels and taking out one of the fighters in Shin Hati's squad. So that was really, really awesome. In this moment, Sabine manages to fix the ship, and they dart away towards the planet, but Shin and Marrok are in pursuit, and this is when, as they're going into the planet's atmosphere, they encounter Pergol. And this is our first look at Pergol in live action. Well, technically, we saw them in the first 2 episodes in the clouds. A lot of people missed that, myself included, but then I saw it floating around on the internet and how they were actually flying around up there. But either way, this is when we get our first proper look at them, and they are absolutely huge. And it was just really, really cool to see. And as Sabine says, this is the first time that they've seen them since Ezra went missing. So obviously this is all playing into the grander thing going on. I just know that people are going to be like, oh, Marrok moved to the side and kind of got distracted by the Pergol, so that means he's Ezra Bridger. I don't know about that. Once they touch down in the forest and power down, Hyang also gives some details about the Eye of Sion and how, yep, it's a massive hyperspace ring. It's got six hyperdrive engines, in where its capabilities, as expected, could make a hyperspace jump to that of another galaxy without the need of Pergol. And then at the very end of the episode, we got that close-up to Balin's Skoll, in where he says the Jedi have taken refuge in the forest, hunt them down. And all I could think of in this moment, I was like, you look so badass, and why is this the only scene I get to see of you this episode? Like, I want more Balin's Skoll, and this is all we got of him. That is so annoying, but, you know, it is what it is. But, yeah, I wish we saw more of him rather than the last 10 seconds of this episode. But you have to think he's staying at those ruins because, as per in the trailer, since the first trailer, I'm pretty damn sure we see Ahsoka face him at the star map, you know, location at those ruins. And we see that Sabine is in the forest fighting Shin Hati. And to be honest, I think Ahsoka will face off against Marrok before she even gets to Balin's Skoll. And that could be a moment in where we actually get to see the helmet, like the kind of knight's helmet, knocked up from Marrok's face. And it could be Sam Witwer, or it could be Ezra Bridger. You never know. But I've got a feeling that it could be Sam Witwer. I kind of hope it is. The only thing I'm worried about there is if Ahsoka makes quick work. Well, I don't think it'll be quick work. It will probably be a half-decent duel there for Ahsoka before she gets to Balin's Skoll. But if it's still something done fairly quickly and she bests him, kind of executes him, if you will, and it's just Sam Witwer, and then, like, he's here in Star Wars live action, and then he's gone, or within that same, like, 2-minute scene, and then we just get onto Ahsoka versus Balin, it will feel kind of like quick fan service, in where it's like, oh, he could have been something more, but oh no, he was like an Inquisitor who was just a part of the Shin Hati and Balin's Skoll crew, and that's it. Like, he died. So how would you feel about that, guys? Like, do you think that Ahsoka's gonna best and kill Marrok before she gets to Balin's Skoll in what I can assume is the next episode's big duel for all the characters? It looks like everyone's going to be fighting in that forest. Let me know down in the comments below. Anyway, though, I enjoyed this episode. It cooked things along nicely. Wish it was a bit longer. I would say it's definitely left us in a place of where we're just really looking forward to seeing next week's episode, because it looks like it'll be quite a banger. Other than that, loved Sabine getting a bit more into the training with Ahsoka and Hyang there. The somewhat ideology and philosophy of the Force, and how that is connected to everyone, and how Sabine, you know, with enough persistence, will be able to muster a little something, I think, probably in a very convenient moment in the future when it really needs to happen. Loved seeing more Hera, loved seeing Mon Mothma get involved, loved seeing Jacen Syndulla. Hope that we see a bit more of that dynamic there in the future. And also, you know, I loved seeing Shin Hati just go hard after Ahsoka this episode. Not quite get there, but now they're in the forest and on the ground. It looks like things could be getting very, very entertaining as the episodes unfold. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, guys. Do consider giving me a like on this video if you have got this far, especially. I mean, if you've got this far, why not, right? Consider subscribing for more Star Wars Ahsoka coverage just like this. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and may the Force be with you always.